Tank-on-tank engagements were unavoidable, and American crews bore the brunt of those doctrinal gaps. In Washington and London, heated arguments flared. Some pressed for a radical shift to heavy tanks. Others insisted on sticking with the mass-production Sherman. The 76mm became a compromise, not a revolution, but an evolution that could be fitted to existing hulls without halting the conveyor belt of U.S. industry. That compromise proved wise. The 76mm upgrade allowed the Allies to adapt without slowing the flow of tanks to Europe. By balancing leadership concerns and field demands, the Sherman remained a tool of overwhelming numbers, but one that could now stand its ground in tank combat. For German crews, the Sherman had long been considered an inferior machine. Reports from tank commanders on the Eastern Front and in France described Shermans as easy kills, vulnerable from almost any angle. German tank aces boasted scores of destroyed Shermans, often achieved with little risk to themselves. The sight of an American column advancing was, for a time, seen as an opportunity rather than a threat. But when the 76mm appeared in greater numbers, that confidence began to crack. Panthers that had once advanced boldly now faced the risk of losing men and machines to side or rear shots. Reports filtered back that some Shermans were capable of penetrating armor that had once been reliable protection. For crews trained to see themselves as technologically superior, this was a disorienting realization. The shock was not only physical, but psychological. A German commander who underestimated the new Shermans risked disaster. A single mistake in positioning, exposing a side angle, cresting a ridge carelessly, or advancing without reconnaissance, could now prove fatal. German intelligence began warning units that the Americans had upgraded their weapons, but in the chaos of late 1944, such warnings were not always heeded. Captured German officers admitted their surprise at the new American firepower. Where once they had mocked the Sherman, they now treated it with respect, a small but telling shift in battlefield psychology. The debate over the Sherman 76mm gun was part of a larger moral question that lingered long after the war. Should America have built a better tank sooner? Critics argued that U.S. leaders sacrificed soldiers' lives by sticking with the Sherman instead of rushing heavy tanks like the Pershing into production. They pointed to the high losses in Normandy and the Ardennes as proof of a doctrine that valued numbers over protection. But the moral reality was complex. The Sherman, even with its limitations, was available in numbers the Germans could never match. Thousands rolled